I decided instead of doing like a talk and something that's so formal and to do something that I've never done before with my best friend of 15 years. When I resigned, I don't know if it's like everybody knew I was not happy with the space I was in, or I had outgrown the space I was in. Maybe I was communicating that without knowing, because I didn't get a lot of, why are you doing this to us? And I'm so thankful that I had like a support system that would listen to me for 4 years, lamenting and lamenting and
lamenting.
and they didn't get tired of me.
Not sad. Let's move on.
Where are we going to next? I'm so scared.
It is. It's a heavy one. Let's move on to grief.
Okay.
March 31st will be your mom's 8-year anniversary.
Yeah.
8 years on. Where are you on your grief journey?
So first, let me just say I'm so scared because depending on how this corona situation goes, I might not be around on March 31st, which is going to be 8 years since my mom passed away. So I'm just like, oh, am I ready for this? Like, and it's actually a day where I'll be working with. So it's like, I don't want to be in the middle of like different world, different country, and just having a breakdown. So I'm not too sure how I'm going to be. So just keep your phone on. And, but my grief is so weird. It's such a weird, it's such a weird thing. I find that my grief, I can only describe it day by day. I can't even describe it week by week, month by month, year by year. So even like when we say 8 years on, in my head, it's weeks of it's not year one was this, year two was this. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it manifests differently. My grief, sometimes I don't want to interact with people. I'm crying. I am angry. I am scared. Like right now, I'm battling a lot of fear because of, venturing out on my own. And yes, things may be working out, but you're still like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and it's always nice because my mom was the smartest woman like I have ever known. And it's not even that, because she's my mom, it's rigged. So I would have to say that. No, it's that she was smart, like book smart, like Harvard smart, like raising 3 kids alone and being in school, right? Smart. And then she was street smart. Like this chick was like a G, would know like how to maneuver things, maneuver systems, and like how to get things for the cheapest on River Road, or how to, okay, this person is giving you a hard time. Don't confront them. Just do no. You'll see how. She was like a great combination of that. And that, I feel, is what I would need right now, right? So I'm like, oh man, it might be 8 years on, but I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, I wish she was here so I could ask her about things. I wish she was here so that she could be there for a certain milestone. So some of the accolades are sweet, yes, and they're so beautiful. And it's like, yeah, I did this. But then I'm just like, not to discount celebrating with you guys. It's not a bad thing. It's great. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, the person who birthed me would really feel it better and should just be like, hey, I made that person. So my grief is like...
Allow me to interject there, because now that goes on to my second point, because I like what you said. Your mother's womb was the first home you had before you came into this world. And then now when your mom dies, you're expected to live in a world where, the love of your life doesn't exist. And I used to say, because for those who do not know, which is almost everybody here, what am I putting it like that for? Today would have been my mom's 61st birthday. She died on December 13th, 2017. And so we are 816 days without her. And it's now one of the things that I share in common with Adelle, because we both lost our moms to breast cancer, and like as you were speaking about milestones, so how do you handle your mom not being present for the major milestones in your life, like your wedding or when you launched Legally Clueless? Because I remember, let me tell you guys a bit of a story. She had a bet with her husband about who would cry on their wedding day. So they bet 50K. So she said it would be him, and he said it would be her. And I remember I was telling my mom about the bet, and my mom told me, just wait when she gets to talking about how she wishes her mom was here, and then she'll cry. And that's exactly what happened. So how do you handle when these amazing, fantastic things happen to you, and the one person, the biggest cheerleader, support system, whatever it is not physically here for you to,
I just cry. To be very I've become, and I call crying an emotional shower because I feel so good afterwards. But I cry, and the crying of grief is so different because it's painful physically. There's like a pain in my midriff, I cry, and sometimes there's a wail with it, because it's so painful. It's so painful. But I think I'm so happy that even when I was on radio, my day would end by midday. So I could vumilia kiasi until until I'm home and I can be in my safe space and stuff. But I'm thankful that now I can say, okay, you know what? I can feel, I'm missing this woman. So let me cancel that meeting, or let me move it to another day. So on that day, I don't have to leave the house. At least I'm in control of that. So I do that very well now, to not be feeling emotional and missing my mom and having to go and have a client meeting and sit across this client. So I try and give myself the cushion that I need to cry. On the days that I feel inside from that's something that I'm very good at. My feelings, I know when they're coming and they're exiting. So if I feel something is coming on and I'm I think I need to cry just to unlock this, I even have a playlist. My playlist has my mom's favorite song, just to jumpstart the tears and then just cry it out. But what's important for me in grief is to always allow myself to feel, because for years after she died, I didn't allow myself to feel, and that really blew up in my face. So that whole hiding behind work things and trying to mask your feelings instead of confronting them really didn't work for me. And so nowadays I'm hey, I need to cry. I can feel it. Where's the Kleenex?
When was the last time you cried, and why?
When was the last time I cried? I thought I was going to cry on my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday was February on the 24th. Yeah, you're so good with numbers.
I know.
The 24th. Unlike me. On the 24th of February, and I thought I was going to cry on that day. So I only had one meeting, and I went and did it. And I was like, Connie, these tears, Leo, they're not feeling like coming. And so the whole day I was just is it now? Not yet. Is it now? Not yet. So that didn't. I haven't cried this. Oh, I have.
I am shocked. It's because Adele is the crier. Siko Baya, but Adele cries a lot. So when you're about to tell me you've not cried this year, I was going to you're lying. Have you?
I know I've cried.
Should we ask your husband?
Wait. Please. No, but I last time I probably cried because of, yes. Yes, I've cried because I recently let go of my management team, and I was going into to work alone and doing things for myself. And so I was wondering about, when you have all of these overwhelming feelings, right? And it's oh my God, is this going to work? No. Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because you can't do this. You haven't studied this. What makes you think you can do it? Nobody else is doing it. And then those thoughts just pile up, and you cry. I've cried about that. I cry for everything. Even my husband knows, small arguments. I'm just all right, that's what you have decided. It's fine. Even me, I just don't. even me, I'm useless. It's fine. It's like, I haven't said that. I'm like, I know, but you did. I know you're thinking it. So I cry for everything. Also because it's just so nice afterwards. Maybe, is that a problem? Like, could I be addicted?
I don't know. Let me. Okay, so for me, on the other hand, I don't cry. But I don't know what has happened to me of late, because I have cried more. Can I put that about you? Look at my sister. I have cried more in the last month than I cried all of last year. In fact, then I cried all, I think, of 2018 and 2019, because there was in Coast, remember?
Yeah.
Then the next week. And then this week, I've cried thrice.
And isn't it good?
No. Now you see, I don't like it. Okay, Wednesday was because I was listening to something sad and I was just like, I can't listen to this anymore. It's really emotional. And then Thursday, I was just having a really bad day. And I think in the background of my mind was like, my mom's birthday is coming up, and I don't know why, or rather we'll get to that later, but it's just hitting me harder this year. And then yesterday, I almost cried, like they were, here. And then I was like, Val, umelialia sana this week, just enough, stop it. And then this morning, I woke up and I had like a panic attack. Like my chest was paining and I was having shortness of breath, and then I just cried. And let me tell you guys, I had planned to put on false eyelashes today.
I was going to ask you.
Exactly. And I'd Googled and, seen the tutorials and everything, and I was ready to try for the first time. Until I woke up crying this morning, and then I'm like, I'm going to have one, or if I come cry here, and then an eyelash comes off on video, and then now, I don't know, the glue
then
just
you become a
meme. And then I become a meme. So I was like, let's just not chance this, and let's just stick to regular waterproof mascara. So you like crying because you find it very cathartic and but I don't. I feel it just makes me feel like something is like overwhelmed and like things are really bad and like just get it together. So no, I don't like crying.
But I didn't, because I didn't used to cry a lot. Whenever I would cry, people would think it's a crisis. It'd be like, oh my God, what's happening? What are we, and that time, my mic is not working, at home or something small like that. But so at first I used to think you only cry when there's a crisis or whatever, but it's an emotion. It's like laughing. It's an emotion, and how we interact with the emotions is what maybe we would need to unpack. Like, what is it about that emotion that scares you? Or what do tears symbolize for you? It's that. And once you figure that out, then you'll understand that. Have you seen, okay, I'm one of those people, like when I'm crying, I'm like, I'm okay. And people are just like, you are not. But I'm like, no, seriously, I'm okay, because this is like a normal, don't freak out. But, with time, you will like it.
I'll start liking crying.
I'm sure.
Okay, I'll be sure to tell my therapist. Do you have any grief triggers, or are there days or moments that cause you to feel your grief more than others? So like for me, my biggest trigger is Mother's Day. I hate Mother's Day. I think Mother's Day is so stupid, but that is just grief being illogical, irrational, unfair, because grief is none of those things. I hate, because now it's like Mother's Month. People start advertising so early on social media, and it's just, I remember last week I was barely on that Mother's Week, and the day I just wasn't on social, I was just like, nope, I can't deal with the phone today. I also hate the holidays because my mom died 12 days before Christmas. Like, we buried her on 23rd. So the holidays is just always difficult. And for me right now, something I'm really struggling with is the fact that like my mom will, as in I think about it, and it just like really like hits me like in my gut, like my mom will never get to meet my boyfriend. And I just really feel terrible about that, because I know she'd have been so happy for me and she'd have loved me. So for me, those two like holidays and that for me are just very...
Triggers for me are two parts. It's emotions. So when I'm about to make a huge decision, or I'm doing something that is like, that's a trigger for me, because as I told you, my thought cycle goes to, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. I wish she was here. She would know what to do. And then I'm in that. I I don't know if her birthdays are triggers, if I can categorize them as triggers, because I do feel a certain way regardless, right? So I approach that day with caution. Like, I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I know my mind does this thing where if I've gone through trauma, it kind of like blanks out certain days. So it's so hard. I have to remember 31st March, because literally my mind is like, that is such a painful day. Let's forget it. And I'm like, no, we have to remember it. So days are not really triggers for me. But when I do hang out with my sisters, I have two elder sisters and we're really close. I do feel like, oh man, like it's not complete because we were always just the four of us. For a better part of my life, I was raised by a single mom. So I'm like, oh, I wish she was here just to look at how she raised such good kids. Like we're not doing drugs. We're like, so independent. We know who we are. She did such a good job. She should be here to see the finished products. So it's more emotionally tied. It's not specific days. But Mother's Day, I think I just don't go online too much. And last year, I unsubscribed from all of these shops that just like flood you with emails and like, hey, get your Mother's Day. I'm like, this is so insensitive, Jameni. Like, what is this? Then I'm like, but also can you just unsubscribe? So I unsubscribed from all of those, those gift shops and like the clothing stores and stuff. The only ones that remain are the ones that have like really good sales, because I'm just like, it's fine next month. But yeah, it can be a trigger. It can be a trigger.
How has losing your mom changed you as a person?
Wow.
I know.
Oh my God. Losing my mom. Oh my word. It's changed me in many ways. Like immediately I lost my mom, I think I lost my mind for a bit. Like I lost such a key part of my identity that I think I was just like stumbling through this like dark corridor trying to figure out who am I without this huge chunk of my being. And then after that, I think for a while what I did was I tried to be my mom. So I would do all of these because my mom passed away from breast cancer. And before that, she was doing so much work in the field. So I'd find myself like doing a lot of breast cancer awareness work and stuff like that. And until I was just like, I woke up midway through that and I'm like, I mean, it's good. We all must be aware about our breast health and stuff like that. And we must do what we can for women who are diagnosed with breast cancer, and how do we subsidize the cost and all of that. Those are really important conversations to be part of. But my reason for being there was not because Adele wanted to be part of those conversations. I was like trying to be her. And so then I had to be like, whoa, what up? And then I started trying to figure out who I am, because I was like, she did such an intentional job from when I was young and trying to make sure I was okay with who I was. So for example, my mom, she battled breast cancer on and off for like over 10 years. And there was once that she was down with chemo, so she was working from home, and some lady had brought documents to the house for her to sign. And it was only me and my mom home that day. And so at that time, I had a mohawk of dreadlocks, right? And that particular day, I think I was just come from a shave, so it was like clean shaven on the side, and I was like tied them up.
The red ones? Were they when they were red?
I don't even know what color they were. And so I went to open for this woman the door, and she came upstairs. Like literally, my mom was in bed, and still working from bed. She's signing the things. After she's finished, this woman says, but she said something like, but my daughter, this is not right. Do you know my mom got up and threw her out of the house, right? Because she was like, if me as a mother, I've never said anything like that. You as a stranger, how are you setting standards for my daughter? And so my mom was very intentional of making sure whoever I was okay. Like, that's fine. Don't compromise that. So then I remembered that, and I started trying to figure out, okay, who am I without her now? And just trying to be more conscious of who I am. and being that every time, because that's my way of honoring her. Because if I try and honor her by continuing the work she started, then I stop being me and I'm being her. So I'm very like, I think that's like a huge change. I'm also not scared of death. I'm scared of grief. So I know I'm gonna die, and I think I'm okay with that. I'm not those. Yeah. I know it's coming. I wish I could pick how I can die, but it's not like that. But I'm scared of the people that I love dying, because I'm like, oh man, we have to go through this grief thing again. Like, can't you guys just stay? And it's so I talk about death. People find death to be a taboo topic. I don't find it to be a taboo topic. I talk about it like normally, but I'm scared of losing my loved ones. I think that's a huge issue it has brought me. Yeah. And it's not, it has the potential to be toxic. It has the potential to be toxic. So I'm trying not to make too many more friends, because I'm just like, hey, there's more people to grieve for. To me, just. And that's irrational, and that's not nice, But yeah. That's where I'm at.
I feel you. Like, for me, there are two things. First of all is I decided my family is we're not the closest. So I just decided, like, for me, now, like, going for memorials and things like that is difficult. So I just decided that for me, I carry my mom in my heart. And so I honor her every day by trying to be the best version of myself. But something that has happened to me recently, and my therapist is one who helped me realize this. But before that, let me give you guys a bit of backstory. So I have 3 anxiety disorders. The one that I've had the longest is PTSD, you know why. And then I have OCD. It's been mild to moderate for some time. But then it really like flared up after my mom died. Like 2018 was bad, but 2019 was really, really, like, it would take me, like, when I'm checking the sockets are off and the lights are off and the fridge is closed, as in that can take me like 8 minutes. And I live in a 1-bedroom house. Like, it shouldn't take me that long, but leaving the house would take me so long. And then with time, I also realized that I just now, towards the end of last year and this year, I also started having generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, where now my heart starts beating quickly and the overthinking, as in the thoughts that run through my mind and I can't seem to shut them off, and they just take over you and all that stuff. And so we'd been trying to figure out with my therapist, like, why, because I say it all the time, grief is not linear, but I feel like I'm getting worse. Like, if I was to take stock, sometimes it feels like I'm getting progressively worse. And then she told me that when my mom died, my sense of safety went with her. And so I've been missing a sense of safety ever since she died. And it's the more, like, right now, like I said, it's 816 days, but the more days that we move along, the more I'm like, wow, Yani, like, she's just really never coming back. And now, yes, I have 3 anxiety disorders, which brings us to our next topic, because if there's something I also know you struggle with, is anxiety to the point that you get panic attacks. In fact, you're the first person I ever had tell me about a panic attack. I don't know if I'm allowed to say where.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I can even give the story.
So, when did you first notice you're struggling with anxiety?
Okay. So first and foremost, I do this thing, right, where I'm a bit of a drama queen, just a bit. And if I feel any pain or whatever in my body, I'm just like, we're dying. We need to go to the hospital now. So example A, when I was constipated, but I thought my appendix was busting, and I woke my husband up at 4 a.m. and I was just like, WebMD says we have 2 hours. So call my sisters, tell them I love them. And so that's one. But then so specifically to anxiety was I was in studio one day and I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave this job. So I'm present in studio, but my mind is not there. My mind is like, listen, you're wasting lives, because now I'm very more aware of like life is fleeting. So I'm like, yo, you could like die today and you're not happy in this space. Are you okay with having that on your I don't know, when we're in heaven, on your conscience, just knowing, damn it. So I'm in studio, so I'm going through all of this every single day. And so I'm in studio one day and I feel what feels like a gas or like something has moved in my stomach. Like something, it's like, you know, when you spray mist, like shh. Yeah, it felt like something had just shh. So I was like, oh, what is that? Then I'm like, it's ulcers. That's how ulcers start. So I quickly like chat my husband. I'm just like, I think I've got ulcers. I felt something. And I don't know, like, I'm going to Google it, but I just think we need to start looking for doctors who can help this situation. So I've already diagnosed everything to myself. Working backwards from that, I wasn't aware that things like anxiety or such, actually quite a few mental health conditions manifest physically, right? And because we separate mental and physical so far apart, we don't ever think that one can influence the other. Okay, on from that, it was not ulcers. I'm trying to I do not have ulcers. I'm trying to resign or like working through my emotions to get to the point where I can resign. And it was a Sunday evening. And my husband, we were driving to a bakery. He's like, let me get you cake. Because obviously he knew how stressed I was, because I'm just like, Kesha ni Monday. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I've tasted freedom. And now it's gone. So we stop at this bakery. He goes, I don't even have energy to enter the bakery. I'm just like, you just, whatever cake. All I know is tomorrow is Monday. So he goes in, he leaves me quite okay. He comes back, I am crying. And I am like, yeah. His first thought is, who came to the car? Who? I'm like, no one. So he's like, so then what's happening here? And I was having an entire panic attack because of the situation that I was in. And I didn't realize that all of these things were interlinked, right? From the ulcer situation that's not ulcers. Your anxiety can manifest, it can give you heartburn. Like I recently got heartburn last week for the first time and I thought it was a heart attack. I told my husband my chest is swollen and he's just like, it's heartburn. So I'm just like, what? Okay. But what if it's not, And then I read and I saw, because I'm very, I have so many apps and I believe in therapy and I have apps as well to help me with my triggers and stuff. And so I opened Mindshift, going through symptoms and I was like, heartburn. All right. So it was because of the situation. I'd never interacted with anxiety before I had this huge life decision of trying to resign from my job, right? So that situation, I think, is what really made me have to deal with this now. But I think I'm figuring it out. I'm very intentional about how I take care of my mental. I always laugh and say, I can tell when I'm getting an anxiety attack the same way when you wake up in the morning and you can smell what's cooking for breakfast. I literally can smell, I'm like, we're not going to be okay for the next 3 days, right? And so it's like how you prepare for an emergency. I'm like, hey, where's the schedule? This meeting has to go, this one has to go. Warn everybody around me to know that, handle with gloves, please. But yeah, I before making that decision of leaving my job, I had never interacted with it. Yeah.
You've answered my question of how do you deal with anxiety now. So I'll just ask, what advice would you have for anyone who's struggling with anxiety? has worked for you that you find helpful. I know one thing you tell me all the time, and I've not tried it. Maybe that's why I'm crying all the time now, is the Mind Shift app. She says it helps. And I'm like, okay, I'll download it. And then I never download it. But
so Mind Shift is an app. This is not sponsored. I don't even know who created it. I don't even know how it found its way into my timeline. Maybe it's one of those things that since you're researching a lot about something, and it just brings, so like if you're shopping for a little black dress, all of a sudden, you get, yeah. So it came on and I thought it was very interesting, the app, because it said it was made specifically for anxiety, and it uses CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And what I love about it is because I love journaling as well, so that helped me. But now it's like almost intentional journaling for the statements that I make in my head when you're overthinking. So, for example, like let me just read where I was in October. It's in my health, Nini. Do I have data? Yes, I do. Oh, yeah. So it has a thought journal. Sorry, I really want to read this because it really just changed. It worked wonders for me. So October last year, I came into Mindshift. So you write that thought that you have. And the thought that I had was, I'm worried that my projects will fail, that I don't have a clear roadmap to my vision, that there's no space for me. And then it tells you to break down that thought into different thinking traps, right? So one thinking trap that I put there was that I know I'm going to fail. So it's like fortune telling. How have you seen 10 years from now that you are going to fail? Like, how do you have that ability? It had different thinking traps, and then it asks you to rewrite the statement. So it's not telling you that everything is rosy and things are going to be great. So you rewrite the statement to say, I feel like this may fail. So what I'm doing is I'm learning this skill online to make sure it doesn't fail, or I'm doing ABC. So it breaks down all of those overthinking things that you put up. And so that part of the app really has helped me. Obviously, there are moments like when the last perspective, right before it, the anxiety that had slapped me, you guys, there was no time to even open mind. I couldn't. I was just like, we're in it. Let's just, we go. Because I thought about canceling that perspective, but it was hours before the show. And I was just like, what will I say? I'm not a good liar. Like, what excuse can K1 has burnt down. So, like, what will I say? So in those situations, I do a lot of breathing exercises when I'm driving. So, and my windows, like the driver's windows are not tinted. So I'm just like, one day somebody is going to be like, has this one lost her mind? Because I'm there like, but breathing really helps. I feel like even if you don't have space to download Mindshift, don't download it. The breathing exercises it just centers me to know where I am. And it's, some of the exercises that they say is like grounding exercises. So name 5 things around you, like really, breathing has those effects for me. But it's finding what works best for you. I think knowledge is power. So if you know this is something you have, even if you don't have access to a therapist or whatever, just try and read up as much as you can about it to see what exercises you can do for yourself. Yeah.
I agree with that completely because like my boyfriend, whenever he reads anything to do with cancer or anxiety, he'll always like send me the links. And there's one he sent me that was talking about, which really helps with my overthinking. Is what I'm trying to do now is reframing the narrative. Because you see, you're building this narrative in your head. And if you're not careful, this narrative will then try to present itself as the truth, even though at the beginning you knew better. So one of the tips on the article, which is something I'm trying to do now, is they say brainstorm 5 other ways to look at the situation differently and like count them off your hands. Then by the time you're on 3, you're like, what was I so mad about or what was I so worried about or stressed about in the first place?
My relationships would always overlap into the next. And so I really didn't think about getting to know myself. Yeah, like getting to take some time out as a woman to really know yourself, because we're always conditioned we always have to be in the confines of a relationship.
Of course, he was really trying to katia her. And then they had their first kiss at my birthday. And I said I will always tell that story.
I realized the more I spoke about rape, I became like the token survivor on a show. Like, so TV shows that be like, oh, we're talking about rape, and call Adele. And it's not really talking about things. You're just the way face they bring on, but not really unpacking stuff.